Hello, hello. And here today, we want to explain the kind of the significance, the relationship between our thoughts, our emotions, and ultimately our results. So we have here, and what we can recognize is that our thoughts do affect our emotions, our feelings, which affect our actions, which affect our results. So just on a very basic level, example in this first is that we can even see that not only do our thoughts affect how we feel and what we do, but they also affect how those actions are performed. So let's take an example of we're painting a wall, and depending on how we feel depends on how that task gets done. So if we're in a good mood, we're enjoying doing the wall and we have satisfactory results. But haven't we done something as simple as painting a wall being in a terrible mood, and we find ourselves getting paint on the baseboard where we didn't mean to, or we're missing spots, and ultimately the result is not satisfactory. And then so what happens is that result, it affects how we feel. So we see that not only do the thoughts affect our feelings, but our results affect our feelings. But yes, we ultimately have control over our feelings, but the outside world also has some effect on our feelings as well. So it's kind of a back and forth street here. So we see that we don't want to rely entirely on thinking, because we can have positive thinking all day and attempt to force our feeling good. Yet if we look outside and we're not performing any actions with that good feeling, it's like it ends there and it dies. So we need to allow it to continue to flow. We need to allow, because that expression that we are seeking to have is looking for a place to express itself. And so if we just feel good and stop there, then it just cuts it off, and it's dead. So we need to allow it to flow. But then, and also, if we are seeing good results, it reinforces why that we're feeling good. So it allows that flow to continue. But also, I want to point out that we need to make sure that we're not relying solely on the external world, solely on the results. Because if we seek just the good results, because we know the examples of the billionaires that don't feel too good. So it's not the external world that is all that it's about. It's about the two of them combined. So I want to point an example. So let us say that we have two pillars here, and one pillar, so there's a little game that we need to play, right? Because one pillar is, let's call this on the idea of affecting feelings. So let's say this is the thinking pillar. Let's call it think. And this is the results pillar. And that's that. So there's many like spiritual cultures and ideas that say we need to find the middle path, right? So there's depths and layers to that idea, but let us use it here and explain it with this example. So we don't want to rely on feeling good purely by thinking and neglecting results, nor do we want to go purely on results and focus and to feel good on results and neglect our thinking, neglect our mental, our spiritual aspects. And so ultimately the idea that we want to kind of drive in and like get to this is, how can we combine the two so that we feel good, feel ideal? And so the idea that we sometimes get is that we need to figure out what results that we want to get. And yes, this is true, but again, we need to have the two of them. We can't just focus on thoughts and neglect thinking. And why I put thinking is because, let us say that this thinking is closer to spirit, because if we are thinking, there's something that is doing the thinking, and it is non-physical in nature, so we'll call that spirit. And so results are, let's call that matter or physical. So thinking is naturally closer to the spiritual world, whereas the results are closer to the material physical world. So when we ask ourselves, what results do we want, rather than just going to thinking about the outside world, Because if we just blindly grab something outside, let's say, oh, I want to be a lawyer. Well, it's like, why? Because they make a lot of money. Because my cousin's a lawyer and he seems to have a lot of power. He's got a lot of influence. So we're starting with the material world and neglecting the spiritual aspect. So if we can start, rather than saying, what do we want? We can start by asking, how do I want to feel? And by doing that, so once I know what I want to feel, what type of results will give me that feeling? So rather than saying, what do I want, and then hope that it makes me feel good, why don't I get straight to, I want to feel this type of way? And what type of things in the outside world will allow me to feel that? So rather than starting from the physical, which is farther away from who we are, we're starting with the non-physical. We're starting with closer to our spirit, because ultimately what we want to do is satisfy our soul. We want to satisfy that innermost aspect of who we truly are. So we need to start with what is closest to us. And when we can learn to tap into our mind, we can learn to feel what we want to feel, and we can learn how to connect with that innermost aspect, that true essence of who we are, we allow it to flow. So then naturally too, so we ask ourselves, what do I want to feel? What will allow me to get those results? And then naturally the gap to bridging that gap is through the action. So let's say you generally want to I was going to say a lawyer, but I don't know how many people genuinely want to do that, but let's say that is that. So you can feel, maybe there's something that you want to defend people, you want to help people stand up for what is right. So in that, you feel inside of you, you feel that you want to empower others. You want to allow people to be able to, you want to stand for justice. Maybe that's like in your soul, that's what you feel. And so you ask yourself, well, what in my outside world will give me that feeling? So then you say, I want to be a lawyer, and I want to be an honest lawyer that is filled with integrity, that allows me to really feel that I am connecting to my higher good. So then we can follow it that way, rather than just starting here and being like, that's going to hopefully get me up here. So no, we want to allow the natural energy progression going from non-physical to physical. So we want to allow the natural evolution of that to take place. And so again, we want to find what is that middle way that allows us to bridge that gap, that allows spirit and matter to connect, because we as physical human beings are that connecting piece. We have the non-physical aspect of who we are, and we have the physical aspect of who we are, as all things do, but we have the conscious ability to think, to create within our mind. We have the spiritual development that allows us to be creators, to be the ones that connect the spirit and the matter in a way that allows us to manipulate matter. So we almost have a responsibility to use it wisely. So we must remember spirit. We must not get totally engrossed in matter. We must not totally be on one pillar, forgetting the other side. Nor shall we be totally in spirits, neglecting results, because we can't say, I don't want to be a part of this world, because we are a part of this world. Our physicality exists for a reason. So we still need to acknowledge that this pillar exists. We need to acknowledge that we are here for a reason, and we need to find a way how to bridge that gap, how to bring them together. So we walk down the line so that we are the entirety of the true human being, that we acknowledge our spirits, we acknowledge our physicality, and we respect and honor and utilize both of them properly. And to do that, we must start with spirit and figure out what is it from my spiritual essence that allows my matter to blossom, that allows my physicality, that allows my earthly existence to blossom, that connects to that spirit. So all of that to say, what is it that you want to feel first? So we want to get the results there, but what is it that you want to feel first? What emotions do you want to feel? What will allow you to feel satisfied with your life? What will allow you to feel like you are contributing in the way that you are meant to contribute? And once you can identify that feeling, now what is it that will allow me in my outside world to experience that? What will allow me to feel those feelings? And then, naturally, once we identify that, what are the actions that I can take to bridge that gap? We're going at this scientific because, in a sense, it really is. We just need to figure out those three things. Once I can learn to quiet my mind and get into a state that allows me to ask that question and receive the answer of what is it that I want to feel, then we just break it down. Now, what can I do in the outside world that allow me to feel that? And what are the actions that I can take that make it all a reality? Hope this helps, and I hope to also talk to you soon.